What is going on, guys? So I'm back for another video. So we are doing DC Shooter, aka DC Allies, whatever you want to call it. It's a meme right now in the Rivals community. The DC counterpart, DC Allies, whatever you want to call it. So I figured I'd hop in on the trend a little bit and make a little tier list about where I think a lot of these characters. I'm obviously not going to be doing all of them in one video. There's probably going to be like 2 or 3 parts of this. Probably going to do 3 parts of it, make about like 25, 30 minutes each. Just going into explaining what I think the character would do, and yeah, so let's go ahead, not waste any time, and hop right into it. So first up, Batman, obviously, easiest pick of the century is going to be DPS. So down the line, I feel like they could do a lot more with Batman. I feel like they could make him a tank if he gets the. I'll pull it up right here. So if he gets the what is it? So as you can see right here, I have it pulled up the Hellbat armor. That is what I believe if they were to do down the line a tank version of Batman, they would probably do this little version right here, the Hellbat armor. So yeah, so Batman, obviously the most easiest pick for a DPS ever. Next up, Superman, first tank. Obviously the easiest pick, probably the definition of a tank, able to take a hit. He's probably going to be, in my opinion, probably somewhat similar to like a maybe like an Angela kind of role. Obviously completely different alt in the way they works, but a flying tank, I feel like he would operate similarly, just kind of focus on the flyers and stuff like that. I feel like that's what he'd be mostly used for, taking out a bunch of squishy characters in the back line. Next up is Wonder Woman, and in my personal opinion, some people might have her as a support, but I would personally also put her as a tank. Another character that I feel just kind of underrated in the amount of hits she can take by some people in the community. But me personally, I feel like she'd be a very good tank. Potentially going down the rabbit hole, like into a lot of her abilities, like looking at what her ult might be. I mean, I really wouldn't know. I guess the main thing that comes to mind would definitely be like the lasso of truth, maybe like some sort of like guaranteed insta kill or something like that, or like she pulls them in, maybe locks their abilities, locks, yeah, like that's probably what it would be, locks an enemy's abilities for like I'll say like 10 seconds, because that would be pretty detrimental. Lock if you need your abilities and they're locked for a super long period of time. It'd probably be a little bit longer than that, but yeah. So like you can't use your ult, can't use your other abilities. I feel like that would be probably a pretty good one, completely neutralizing an ally for however long they are. I feel like that'd be pretty good. Next up is Aquaman. He is going to be our first support character. Now you're probably thinking, now, wouldn't Aquaman be a DPS? And I'm going to tell you exactly why I have him in the support role. So he would call on fish and whatever other animals to do healing. So imagine Namor, but make him a healer. Make the squids target your allies instead of your enemies. That is exactly what Aquaman would do. And then he would have the trident to throw at enemies. And then he could have a second ability that would also heal. So he would have something for movement. That way, we don't make him like an atom. But it's okay. So yeah, like I said, having the squids target allies, I feel like would also make him a little bit unique in that way. But I feel like they would probably make it something else. That way, it's not too similar to Namor. But so looking at it, I think his ult would probably be. Let me think. Oh man, what would it be? Probably be something like summoning like a swarm of sharks. Not like Nemours where he just throws the one giant whale, but like a swarm of sharks that so imagine take Jeff's ult and then wherever he places it, that it summons a giant wave pool that a bunch of sharks go around and damage your enemies. That would probably be Aquaman's ult. And it also heals allies. So it's like a massive healing, massive damage ult. Kind of similar to Cloak and Daggers, but in a circle instead of lines. So imagine that. That's what I imagine Aquaman's ult would be like. So actually, take shark instead of sharks, make it piranhas. So I think that would be pretty cool. Next up to Flash, we have obviously another one of the more obvious DPS characters. Um, so the reason the Flash is a DPS character, obviously, quite literally the definition of a DPS. Um, I don't really know how they would do a speedster without making him too busted. That's probably why Rivals has not added Quicksilver yet, is because he would be just mega busted. But you know, looking at it, I would probably say his ult would be something ridiculous, like being able to zoom in, and it's probably something like Psylocke's ult. I would imagine that the Flash would be like have a Psylocke-esque ult, where he just kind of there's a circle and then there's like a radius, and then he just runs around hitting everybody in that area. I feel like that's exactly how they would do it. Feels kind of copy-esque, but not enough to where they'll it's a problem. Next up is Cyborg. So Cyborg is my first figure it out character because personally he definitely could be in tank, but at the same time he could be in DPS. So we'll come back to him in a little bit. Green Lantern is another DPS. Specifically, I believe this is specifically Hal Jordan because they do have another Green Lantern down here somewhere. I don't remember where she is, but it's the girl one whose name I can never remember. There she is. Jessica Cruz. She is on here as well. So there is like other named characters on here that appear as other characters. So um, it could indeed be a little different. So for now, I'm probably gonna leave him here. Actually, you know what? No, we will make him a tank just so that way we can get a little bit of tank diversity up in here. Um, so Cyborg's ult would obviously probably be like the mother box, like kind of like the mother box beam or whatever you want to say. Something similar. Um, you would have probably a hacking ability, like one hacking ability that would remove one enemy's ability. Um, Probably like one of their random normal abilities that can't remove their ult though. Something like that to keep it balanced. Um, his I think I already said it was yeah, like the mother box. It would be pretty interesting. I feel like Cyborg would be a pretty fun character to have in the game. Be pretty interesting to see what he does and how it would all work out. Hawkman is I don't really know a lot about Hawkman, but we'll put him in DPS. I just feel like knowing what I do know about him, it just kind of seems like a quintessential DPS kind of thing. Going through with it. Hawk Girl will have. Hmm, now I really have to think about this because I do need more supports. At the same time, though, we'll put her in DPS for now, and if I feel like we need her in another role, we'll put her. You know what? No, yeah, we'll leave her in DPS. So Hawkgirl and Hawkman are, basically kind of it's quintessentially the same character. Next up though is Martian Manhunter. He is going to be our second support role, and if you're wondering why, it's mostly just because the shape-shifting thing. I feel like it could work out in his favor. He could sort of be like a Loki. I imagine he would probably be like Loki, and the fact not that he can't clone himself, but I imagine he'll have some kind of healing ability thing that he'll do, and then he'll have the copy ult ability. You'll be able to copy an enemy's ult, which isn't unseen because Overwatch has their own character Echo that does that as well. So it's not like it's a rivals thing first. So next up is Green Arrow, literally just Hawkeye, literally just Hawkeye. That's literally all this is. Next up is Black Canary. This one is a bit of a tough one as well because she could very much. I want to put her in support, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things. I don't really know what she would do, like what her primary would be that would get her this role. But Black Canary is very much a supporting kind of character. Um, so obviously her ult's gonna be. I imagine. Sorry. I would imagine her ult. I would probably structure it similar to Emma Frost's, where you take like that big radius and it just whoever it hits it does damage to, but instead of having it do like a mind control thing like Emma Frost does, it just does a lot more. It just does a little bit more damage. And it also obviously since she's a support, it would obviously also heal allies a little bit as well. Um, Probably would have a support scream ability, sort of an ability where she just kind of screams and it buffs allies and debuffs enemies. That would work pretty well. And then a movement ability to get her out of the situation. Aquaman, just so you know, I feel like I'll backtrack on that. Aquaman's ability would probably be like a little dolphin ride ability where he kind of just like a dolphin jumps with a dolphin carries him, for like 4 seconds or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but fast enough where it would help. Next up, I so after looking at it, Black Lightning is another character that very easily goes in to the DPS tier. If you look up there, I looked up his power set. So it looks like if we look at it here, cellular manipulation, manipulate biological cells, allowing for regeneration and immunity boosting. So quite literally, he heals. He has a heal himself ability, a force field, flight. He can also fly. Here's what I would personally do. You take this, that's obviously his primary fire. His flight is obviously his movement ability. Force field, he has a little ability where he can shield himself for a second. Um, and then technopathy, obviously, I mean I don't feel like they would use that, but if they did, it would be another thing that removes an ability, or actually no, it would treat it. I would treat it like Phoenix's ability, that removes items on the ground, so like pennies, mines, and stuff like that. I would treat it as another ability that removes things like that. And then the electrical form would be his alt, and that's definitely what it would be. It would be his alt where he gains. We'll say a lot of health. We'll just say it gives him a lot of bonus health. Next up is Shazam, another one of the easiest tanks I've ever seen in my entire life. Alt would obviously be I won't say exactly like Thor's, but kind of similar to Thor's, and he's obviously just gonna yell Shazam, and then like after it's gonna take a second for it to come down. That way everyone has a second to dodge, but it'd be a pretty powerful attack, pretty powerful moveset. Obviously, Shazam has a lot of other powers, Wisdom of Solomon, and a lot of other things in there, but specifically, like the literal tanking ability of Shazam is insane. So we're putting him up in the tank tier. Um, Next up is Doctor Fate. In fact, Doctor Fate and Zatanna both get the same role for me. Both masters of magic. Pretty self-explanatory. Doctor Fate, I feel like would act like a healer Moon Knight. And if you're wondering what that is, it's quite literally just like how, like, you're probably thinking, oh, why would he be like a Moon Knight? He's not like Moon Knight at all. You're not getting. It's not exactly like Moon Knight. You get what I'm saying? Just kind of like operate in a similar way. His ult would be completely different though. I don't know how I would run his ult, but I feel like he would operate very similar to Moon Knight. Can throw down like a shrine thing, whatever the symbol of fate is. I can never remember throw down the symbol of fate, and then when your allies are in that range, they get boosted healing. They get like a boosted healing rate. So like if you heal them, they get more healing. Something similar to that. I won't say it will bounce off the shrines though. The stuff will not bounce off the shrines. And his ult, yeah, I don't really know how I would do that, but it'd be pretty interesting. Zatanna, on the other hand, or sorry, Zatanna. Sorry, I always mispronounce it. I don't really know a lot about her magic, but I do know that she is one of the more insane characters in DC. The more insane, underrated characters, I should say. Zatanna is. Um, she, I definitely feel like would be a very good healer. I don't know how I would personally do her, but if you have any ideas in the comments, just let me know how you would personally like run some of these abilities, and honestly, let me know how you run any of these abilities. So that way, I can maybe brainstorm some ideas. Get me talking to Warner Brothers. Captain Atom, though, me personally, this guy is also very much a tank. Literally has atom manipulation. That's literally his entire thing. Very much a tank role. Not really much else to say. I feel like Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Seth here. So I just wanted to hop in and interject for a second, let you guys know that me and my friend Walk have a Discord server, where we update people, like we post updates on our channel and like videos that we upload whenever we go live. So I just wanted to hop in and interject, let you guys know that that does exist, and if you guys could drop a like and subscribe, that would be super awesome. I got part 2 and 3 of this series coming. So right now I'm actually getting ready to start working on part 2 of this series. So if you guys can give some support, show some love, that would be amazing. See you guys in the next one. Okay, so looking at it now, Vixen is the one that has the ability to copy like the stats of an animal, with her totem. So like if she wants to copy like the stats of a gorilla, she just she doesn't change any, but she just gets like the powers. Essentially, it's like Jaguar. She gets like athletic and or agile and quick and all that. Pretty strong. So Vixen definitely is another DPS. Very decent. I feel like she'd be pretty interesting. I feel like she would. I don't really think she has necessarily a counterpart in Rivals because of her power set is being so unique as it is. But I feel like if I were to personally place her on a list like this is exactly where she would be. Which I am doing a list like this, so good for me. So looking at it now, Booster Gold. I'm sorry that I have to keep looking up all these power sets. Looking up Booster Gold. Yeah, I would say the light projection ring that he has, the light projection ability that he has, would definitely play into being a support role. He does have super strength, so that could definitely play into him being up a DPS as well. But me personally, looking at like all the characters that we have on this list so far, this is personally where I would put Booster Gold as a supporter. I just feel like he works best here. Super strength, the flight. I think yeah, he has flight, the light projection, stuff like that. Those are kind of things that play into personally being like a healer. Um, if I were to say personally, what I would kind of compare him to with the time travel ability, I would say maybe like a Tracer kind of thing. Not exactly like Tracer, because Tracer's a DPS, but at least somewhat similar, where he can jump back or jump forward or jump all the way back through some of his last jumps. It would definitely be pretty interesting to look at and be a very cool little thing to get into. Next up is Blue Beetle. This is another character that definitely belongs in the DPS tier. You could probably argue for tank because he is definitely somewhat tanky, but he is definitely more on the DPS end with the scarab suit and everything like that. It definitely belongs up here. So next up is Firestorm. This is another support character. Firestorm is, I don't really know his power set that well. From what I do know, though, he can change. He can essentially manipulate atoms, which it seems like a lot of characters are kind of able to do. But he's able to quite literally manipulate the molecular composition of items. So like he can change a rock to kryptonite and stuff like that. He done it in like a lot of shows and stuff like that. He's kind of the MVP, one of the MVPs of Injustice 2 if you've played the game. It's a whole long game. So next up is Fire and Ice, and this is gonna be our similar to Cloak and Dagger kind of thing. So this is probably gonna be our Cloak and Dagger of the game. You got ice, you've got fire, blah blah blah. You get the gist. Cloak and Dagger. Next up would be Hawk and Dove, and these are two characters I don't really know anything about, but literally just from looking at them, they definitely go in DPS. The Wonder Twins, obviously, are also DPS. They do the Wonder Twin powers activate. She transforms into an animal, he transforms into an object, so on and so forth. You get the gist. They're all. I really don't know what it would be, but I know that if Warner Brothers does ever end up investing in DC Allies or whatever they end up calling it, they definitely won't call it DC Allies because then everyone's gonna make fun of them for doing it. But whatever they end up doing, I definitely think the Wonder Twins would end up being a DPS and would have an insane ult. Nightwing, obviously another DPS. I mean, come on. Who didn't see it coming? All the Bat family is probably going to be DPS, depending on how I feel like when I get there. Let's see how much we got left. So we don't have a lot left, so I might end this part soon. And I'll probably do a little review of some of what I add, that way, you know, well, at least in this part, that way I don't forget what I did. Next up, Superboy. I mean, come on. Another tank. It's literally Superman's clone. Not really much of a difference between these two. If I remember correctly, it literally is a Superman clone. So, I mean, there's not really much to talk about there. It would probably be very similar, if not exactly the same as Superman. If anything, honestly, in my personal opinion, I think Superboy would actually be a Superman skin, not his own character. So, I'm actually probably gonna put him down here, and they can't put him up there, but I probably should, but I'm not going to. I'll leave him up there in tank, you know. But just know, more than likely, he's gonna be exactly the same as Superman. Um, let's see. I'll get through these three Titans down here, and then we'll end off the list there. We'll end off this episode, this part here, with this part there. So real quick, I'm also gonna look up Wonder Girl's power set, so I'll be right back. Okay, so after looking at it, Wonder Girl is basically kind of a Wonder Girl clone, or sorry, gosh, Wonder Girl is basically a Wonder Woman clone, but I feel like personally she's not going to be as strong as Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman is like one of the most powerful Amazonians of like all time. She's immortal, all that, so on and so forth. So Wonder Girl, we are going to put in the DPS tier, because every game like this loves to pad their DPS tier up a ton because it's the most popular tier that people use. Aqualad, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really feel understand his power either, but we will put him in the DPS tier as well. Kid Flash without literally with the understanding like it is same as Flash. Literally, this is another thing. Again, I feel like they aren't going to be different characters. They're just going to be skins and they're going to have different voice lines. That's it. I feel like that is going to be the only difference, if anything. Next up is Starfire. Starfire is going to be our next tank. If you're wondering why, honestly, just read up on Starfire. Starfire has insane feats, especially in the comics, that she just deserves to be up as a tank. Raven is going to be another support character, with her ult probably being a transformation into like her actual demon form, where she kind of just goes insane, and I feel like she would operate. If I really had to compare her to somebody, I would probably say she's gonna be like Moira in a way from Overwatch. If she's probably gonna be like Moira kind of in Overwatch, but not exactly. She's gonna operate somewhat differently because her ability won't be like a mist. It'll be more like a spell casting kind of thing. So I imagine like, man, I really can't think of anything because I think she would be her own thing. Um, we'll just ready to move on. We'll get up to Beast Boy. Beast Boy is another pretty decently, obviously DPS. He's gonna have his abilities to transform. His main primary is probably gonna be like he's gonna be a melee attacker. Obviously, he's probably gonna have an ability that lets him turn into. I'll say he'll have an ability that lets him turn into a random animal from like one of three choices. We'll say it's like a gorilla. Trying to think of something else. So it's like one's like a gorilla, two is like a tiger, three could be like a whatever a third option is. It's just like one. It's a random one of those three. Or actually, no, you'd be able to choose. So like gorilla would be more tanky. Tiger would do more damage, or you could do like something smaller. I don't know what it's a smaller animal that would still do damage, but like it would move a little faster. And then the ult would be turning into a T-Rex because that's I feel like the most obvious thing ever. And he just does a crap load of damage, or you could treat it like the Hulk ult where he turns into T-Rex, grabs one person, and just munches on him. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like personally, I do enjoy where I have everyone as of right now. So to go over it because I don't believe I said anything about Superman, Batman, or Green Lantern's ults. Um, I would say because like these are like the ones that I want to at least talk about what their ults would really look like. Batman. I mean, it can range from anything from like calling in the Batmobile and just like letting it gun people down, kind of like similar to Bob from Overwatch. Just let the Batmobile run at people over and then just start gunning them down. Green Lanterns, you could quite literally do anything with. The guy can literally imagine anything with his willpower. So literally, DC could do anything with that. I don't really have an idea for that, but I just know it would be absolutely insane. Superman, man, I don't know. Probably like I feel like his would be like a solo ult kind of thing where he just grabs somebody and just absolutely obliterates them. Like with some kind of combo, like a couple of massive punches and then like a giant like laser, like the giant heat vision into like the chest. It just does a ton of damage. I feel like that would be a pretty good one for that. But yeah, I like the list that I have it so far. If you guys have any suggestions for me to change about this list, go ahead and let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.